Welcome, Harvey Cursley, karting star. Thank you very much for coming on the show and getting involved. But yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. What about you?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to catching up. It's been a while, but I thought I'd start by asking what I do most of my guests that come on the show, and that is, how did you first become interested in motorsport?
Well, my dad's always been sort of racing. He's been racing for about 6 or 7 years now, I think it is. And I've always been interested in that, and it's been fun to watch. And I just got into karting through that, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to interview sort of lots of drivers, and that's sort of the most common answer when I ask that question. I think sort of once you've got parents or family that are into racing or do race, you sort of get into it very quickly. What would you say is your earliest motorsport memory, would you say?
Um, Probably when I was about 6 or 7, I got a go-kart, but we just didn't really know what we are doing then. So we sold that. When I was 9, I got back into it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to start by asking, how did you first get started? When was it that you realized you wanted to start? Obviously, because you're in karts at the minute. When did you realize you wanted to get started?
I think it was about 9 or 10 when I first started Young Stars.
Yeah,
But yeah, because my parents sort of signed me in on one day. I went there and I really enjoyed it. But I'd done a few sessions for my birthday just before that, and I really liked it then. So I thought, oh, I sort of really want to do this when I'm older. And it sort of just went from there.
yeah, yeah. Well, you obviously mentioned a minute ago when you were younger, you got a car and you didn't know what to do. Sort of what advice would you give to anyone that's sort of starting out and not sure where to go really? Because, to be fair, when I first started sort of looking into it, it's very daunting. And, some of these sort of figures in terms of money, it can be pretty daunting as well.
Well, yeah, all I would say is just really do your research and what you're thinking of getting into. Just really do your research on it and just think before you get into anything, because it is quite expensive to do it all. But once you do it, it is worth it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, once you sort of first started, once you sort of first got into it, how quickly did it sort of progress to becoming just sort of something you sort of did for fun every now and again to something a bit more serious?
Um, it took me like I think it was 3 or 4 years that I got like when I first got my actual proper first car. Like I was doing young stars before that, and that was just going every sort of week or so. That was just something to do on the weekends. And then after a few years, it was on Christmas, and I got my own car, and it sort of just all went from there. That's when it got serious, like into serious stuff.
Yeah. But obviously, once you sort of moved on from it just sort of being a fun sort of hobby to do it at weekends or whatever, would you say the pressure has increased? How much more would you say it's increased? And I'd like to think there's still sort of a fair level of enjoyment in it as well.
Yeah, it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot, but there is a lot of pressure on the weekends. Everyone's sort of uptight together, but it is a good time.
Yeah. Good, good. Well, that's what it's about. It's about learning, obviously, and having fun with it. From what I remember, you do a lot of stuff at Red Lodge. Would you say that's your favourite circuit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say that because I've been racing there like the whole time of my karting. Basically, I've been to other tracks, but mostly Red Lodge has been the best one so far.
yeah. I've been to Red Lodge, but it wasn't for since like a long time ago, and it's sort of on the bucket list to go again. Really. How would you sort of sum up Red Lodge as a circuit? Because it's a great little facility actually. And it's a
Yeah,
great kart circuit.
well, it's a fast flowing, but it is like a really twisty track, and it's quite hard to learn. But once you do learn it, it's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. And are there what circuits would you say in terms of kart circuits? Are there any still you really want to get to that are sort of still on your bucket list?
There's Buckmore Park,
Yeah,
where I really want to go there. I haven't been to PFI yet, but that's also up there. Sort of looking for really.
yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say have been so far in your karting career? Which I'm sure there's plenty of other things to look forward to. But what would you say has been your highlight so far?
Probably one of my most previous races where I got my first wins, like because it's quite wet, and I got my first wins because I'm not trying to like be cocky or anything, but I'm all right in the wet 'cause of my weight. But yeah, my first wins, that was really good. That was really I was really happy about that.
Yeah, good. I think, it's not happened to me yet, but first win is always going to be an important one, and always one you're going to remember. Obviously, I imagine Matt's probably up there with, obviously, as you said, one of your most memorable. What would you say? What other races, would you say your most memorable ones?
Well, it's sort of the first year I got my car. The engines weren't like the fastest thing, so I was sort of quite far back. And then we got them redone, and the first race I did get them redone. I came back and got second, and I was like over the moon about that. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And that was one of my most memorable moments so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, kart racing is sort of known as sort of being, fast, often frantic. It's probably the most purest form of racing. I actually met you at a 6-hour endurance race at Daytona.
Yeah.
Obviously, sort of lots of different ways you can go in motorsport and with karting. But do you sort of prefer, the shorter races, sort of doing it by yourself, or had you done any other stuff, sort of endurance stuff with a team before?
No, not really. That was my first actual endurance race. I mean, at Young Stars, there was like after it, there's like a 1 hour race, but that's in a team of like 2 people.
Yeah.
But the Daytona one, that was like the 6 hour one. That
Yeah.
was the first proper endurance race, and I really loved that.
Yeah.
I think I did quite like that more than the sprint races.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sort of from my point of view, because obviously the stuff I do is very, very short because we're on a very short circuit as it is. And then the races are sort of like proper sprint, sort of 20-minute races, which are good fun. But, quite frantic, and you're always doing something. A lot about you always doing stuff at Daytona. But I think it was really nice to sort of be part of a team. And sort of it was a real challenge, really. Although I do remember once I think everyone had finished their stints because we were out for about an hour and a bit, hour and 15, I think it was. And I think when everyone came in, I think we were all quite tired, really. But yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
But I think that was a brilliant day, and one of my highlights of last year, and any of the karting I've done before. Had you driven Daytona at Milton Keynes?
No, I hadn't. I was really excited to go there. I've never even heard of. I did hear about it, but I never really took attention to it until then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good circuit. And how would you sum it up? Because I think sort of the thing that shocked me to start with when I was doing some research beforehand was the sheer size of it.
Yeah, it's a good track. There's a lot of corners, and that's a really exciting part about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was such a good day. I think it was a real challenge. Would you say you'd be up for doing sort of something like that again in the future? Because I think it was something so different, and we didn't really know what to expect as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely be up to that again. I loved it. That day was it was really fun that day.
Yeah. And to be fair, if I remember rightly, you were sort of a last minute substitute for us, really, weren't you? If I remember,
Yeah.
One of our teammates was ill at the time or something, and yeah, so you stepped in. So it's lucky sort of that really happened, I guess.
Yeah, because I remember I don't know, I don't like particularly remember what was wrong with him, but one of the team's members just was ill, and it was only a couple of days before that I was told that I was being racing in it.
Yeah.
And sort of went from there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad we all did it. It was a good experience. New year coming up. January is flying by. We've got the new year, as I say, coming up very quickly. What are you up to this year? What's the aim? What are you looking forward to about the year as well? What's coming up?
Well, so in March time, I'm going to be one of the first junior, like 13-year-olds to go into the senior class in IKR. So that's going to be fun. That's 200 Pro Kite Extreme engines. So they're going to be a bit faster what I'm used to. That's going to be fun. And then June time, for my birthday, I might be getting a junior saloon car.
Really?
and then and then
That's
I'm gonna
pretty
be
cool.
testing in that for half a year, and then hopefully next year I'll be racing that.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, before I speak about the JSCC anymore, obviously new kart. How will that sort of compared to what you've previously driven, and how is it? Yeah, how is it different from what you've previously driven?
So basically, the engines that I've got on my kart right now, they're 160cc each, so I've got two of them. But the ones I'm moving up to, they're going to be 200cc each. So it'll be a bit faster, and it'll be a lot more power. So I've got to get used to that, but it should be really good.
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned junior saloon car. Obviously, I imagine that's lots of work to go into that. So and obviously lots to aim for. What was it that sort of inspired you to sort of look into the JSCC and obviously look into hopefully getting a car in the future?
Well, so at my dad's race meetings, they're always sort of there every time we go. Me and my dad were just watching them, and they've always looked so good. They're all clean racing, and they always do it really cool, and it just looks really cool in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's from what I've been told, and I've seen them race at Snetterton, which is my local circuit quite a bit. That they seem like brilliant cars. It's a brilliant championship, and you get to go to some of the best circuits in the UK. From obviously what you've seen from your dad's racing, because I know he does quite a bit of racing himself across all the circuits across the UK. Have you sort of picked up a circuit that you particularly like or look forward to driving in the future?
One of the ones like at the top there, it's got to be Brands Hatch. It's just it just seems the best track.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky to visit there a couple of times to watch races and stuff, and that first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, and then up the hill again into Druids, and then you've got Graham Hill. It's such a cool circuit, and I would have thought a pretty good place to race and stuff. And I imagine quite a big step up from any kart circuit, which sort of leads me on nicely to my next question is, with that, very close in the future, how are you feeling about, obviously, I wouldn't say leaving karts behind, but then sort of moving up and progressing a bit more into cars?
It's quite a big step up, yeah, but I will be quite sad to be leaving karts because they're so fun to do and it's so enjoyable. But then when I move into cars, you've got to move on at some point.
Yeah.
And cars, I just want to, because that's my top main goal, is to get into something like British touring cars or something.
Yeah.
That's just my main goal. So yeah. I've got to move up at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. They always say, karting is, well, not only fun, it's pure, but also you can learn lots from it. What would you say is the main thing that you're going to bring out of karting? What would you say has been the highlight for you, and what have you enjoyed the most?
The main thing that karting's taught me is just like you've got to be calm, and like because karting's always quite close racing, you've always just got to keep yourself calm and not just like rush about.
Yeah, definitely. And I would have thought that's going to help even more. Moving into car racing, JSCC, anything like that. What would you say you're most looking forward to about moving forward?
It's just because there's quite a small grid that I'm in. It's just a big grid, and it's getting it's a big step up from karting, obviously. But the big grid is the main thing I'm looking forward to, and because cars, I just love cars so much, and I'm really looking forward to going into them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, I'm sort of going to round this interview out by sort of continue to look to the future. You've obviously got the closer aims with the karting at the minute. Obviously, hopefully, stepping up to cars in the near future. But looking a bit further beyond that, you obviously mentioned British touring cars and other great championships. We're very lucky here in the UK. We've got plenty to choose from. But what would you say is the aim for you? What's on your bucket list, really? What are your goals?
Well, realistically, I would like, because you've got to be 17 to race in the class that my dad's in. I'd quite
Yeah,
like to get into that because they're all clean drivers in that, and it's always really fun. It
yeah,
looks really fun,
yeah.
and that's the sort of realistic goal. But I'd love to get into sort of other touring cars. I'll try and get into GT racing, like endurance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, we, as you say, we are quite lucky. With racing in the UK, I think, you know, yes, obviously we've got the big championships like BTCC, British GT, with obviously some quite big budgets, but there are lots of other sort of alternatives. You know, sort of like your dad races, he's in Hyundai's. Am I right in thinking that? So yeah, so you know, good mix of cars, but and yeah, obviously I wish you the best of luck in doing so. It's been great that you've come on the show,
Yeah,
and yeah, thank you very much for joining me, and all the best of luck for the near future, and hopefully catch up with you at a racetrack very soon.
yeah. You can come to any of my races. Just got to ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, as I say, thank you very much, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Right, thank you. Good luck in all your racing too.
Cheers.